Welcome back to another episode of The Pickle Pulse. I am your host, Brian Green, and boy, do we have a treat today. I am not worthy in my best Wayne's World. I am not worthy. So I've got Mike Wardian in, and if you don't know who he is a world-famous ultra marathoner who does things on a weekly and monthly basis that us mere mortals don't even dream about. I can't even say we dream about it, because why would we dream to torture ourselves? Mike has been running for, gosh, I don't know. How long have you been running, Mike? It's a good start.
Yeah, that is a good start. I started running, I played a sport called lacrosse growing up, and then picked up running kind of my junior year of college. So I think that's 1995.
Okay.
And I did my first marathon in 1996.
Okay.
I wanted to do the Boston Marathon.
So you were a teenager at that point, like in high school?
No, I was in my early 20s.
Okay. Okay.
Yep. So graduated from Oakton High School. We out
Local
here.
hero.
Yeah, exactly. I just drove by Chantilly, which is one of our rivals.
Okay.
Growing up. Oakton High School in Arlington, Virginia. Went away to school at Michigan State, played lacrosse there. Stopped playing lacrosse like middle of my junior year or so. Picked up running kind of just to stay fit.
Okay. And since then, I mean, I can't tell your story as well as you can, but
Yeah.
I know you've done some really cool stuff, and I'm going to throw some stuff out there and see if it sticks. You correct me if I'm wrong, but
Yeah.
I mean, you've run
Let's see how your research is.
Oh, it wasn't that good, I promise. But I mean, didn't you do like 25 marathons in 25 days in 25 states, or is it all 50 states?
Oh no, somebody else has done that. I haven't done that yet.
Okay.
That is something that I think would be pretty cool. Like there's a guy named Dean Karnassus who did 50 marathons in 50 states in 50 days. He's kind of one of the old school ultra running guys that inspired a lot of people, myself included. Like he's been around the sport for a long time. He's also like run across the country. Like I'd say some of the biggest things I've done is ran in 3 Olympic trials for the men's marathon with a personal best of 2:17:49.
Wow.
Run, yeah,
Wow.
Yeah, I've run for Team USA for 100K and 50K World Championships, brought home gold and silver and bronze medals in those events.
And you do a lot of like trail running ultras as well, right? Have you done the Hawaii one that I read about in Goggins' book?
The 100 miler? Yes,
Yeah.
I have done that one. Yeah.
Dude, all right, so let's just start right there, because that in his book seems like the most grueling, vicious. I mean, you're going up and down mountains for 100 miles.
I mean, they're not actually huge mountains in Hawaii because you're not that far from, like, literally you can see Waikiki from that run.
Okay.
So I think that makes it harder than if you were like in the middle of like Colorado and there's nothing around. Like you can literally see like the sushi place from the trail when you're at like mile 70. So you're like, dude, if I just quit, I could be, getting a nice meal and sitting on the beach. So I think that actually makes that race a little bit harder. It's called the 100 miler.
Yeah. What is the elevation change? Is it's like 1,000 feet, less than that, more than that?
Oh, way more.
Okay. So when you say it's like a small mountain, I think 1,000 feet. I think of like Seven Springs ski resort down the street.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's a real mountain.
Yeah.
We can't believe anything Mike says at this point.
Yeah. I think it, yeah. So, I can't remember what the total elevation change and loss is, but I think it's over 20,000 feet.
Wow.
Over the course of the race, but that's not even like close to some of the other races that are out there and that I've done. Like there's a race called the Hard Rock 100 miler in Silverton, Colorado, where your changing elevation is, I think, 33,000 feet of elevation positive, and then you get the same amount of negative, so ascent and descent, and then most of the race is above 10,000 feet, including going over one 14,000 foot peak called Handy's Peak.
How do you train for something like that? I mean, do you go into elevation and just start running like crazy on treadmills and out and about? I mean, do you get there early because 10,000 is way up there?
Yeah, I mean, for us coming from Washington, D.C., which is basically sea level, it's really hard to train.
Because this weenie, when I get into elevation, I get headaches immediately.
Yeah, exactly. I get that too, especially I've done it all different ways. Some people say get there like the day before, and then you kind of like do the race while you're still not going to get hammered. I've tried that. That hasn't really worked for me. What works best for me is getting there like about 9 days early and then doing kind of a big event or a big effort the weekend before. So just to get used to like feeling like crap when you're like trying to take sips out of your water and just getting used to being at higher elevation. And then I usually feel pretty terrible that Tuesday and Wednesday. And then by like the race is usually starts on a Friday. So usually by like Thursday, I'm feeling like not terrible.
Okay. So you kind of get in and assimilate a little bit to the best of your ability.
Yeah, I try to. I mean, if you're really serious about it, I mean, it's just better to be out there or to be even higher. If you can get higher than what you're going to see on the course, that's even better. I just don't have that kind of time usually to, kind of go out there that much earlier. So I just do the best with what I can. And then, you just want to try to get in like long extended climbs. Like when you're saying like 1,000-foot climb, like that's kind of the start of some of those things. Some of those climbs can be 2,000, 3,000 feet. So you're climbing for like an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Wow.
Just straight up. Yeah.
Wow.
So it's, those are some long ones. I mean, there's like Hard Rock. There's a race called UTMB, the Ultra Trail de Mont Blanc, which goes around the biggest mountain in Western Europe, Mont Blanc, and you kind of start that race in Chamonix, and then you run over. So Chamonix is in France. You run over to Italy, and then you go through Switzerland, and then you come back to France. So it's like this really iconic trail where you get just beautiful views, but that also has about 10,000 meters or 33,000 feet of elevation, ascent and descent.
Wow. So it sounds like there's a ton of grueling races for you to dip your feet into. Yeah, I mean,
even like I was just in New Zealand last week, so just came back, and I was doing a bike packing race, and that race was 1,000 kilometers, so about 800 miles. I didn't make it the whole way. I actually got injured, but I stopped at 350 miles, so about 500K. And
this is a new foray for you, right? You
it was 100%.
Just started doing this like biking thing, going long ways.
Yeah, just like ultra biking or ultra cycling, and it's called bike packing. So you like have everything you're going to use on your bike. So like a sleeping bag, like your jet boil, all your freeze dried food. So your bike goes from weighing like 20 pounds to like 50 or 60 pounds, and so like that's how I got hurt. I was trying to pick it up and like carry it up these mountains.
Oh, but, no. Yeah, okay. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, because you're on trails and stuff. There's areas where you're just not riding the whole time. You gotta pick your bike up.
Most people are like putting it on their shoulders. They have these like straps, which my buddy and I didn't have because he's like super strong and I'm not. And so
you're like, thanks, buddy. Appreciate it.
So he was just like bear picking it up, and I was like pushing it like 1 second up at a time, like going up these like 20-30% grade hills like you're talking about. Like, so it was just crazy.
I just finished a book called just finished in the last 6 months called Wake the Sleeping Self, or Waking the Sleeping Self.
Ooh, I haven't heard of that.
It's Jedediah somebody. I'm drawing a blank. But his deal was he was like 29, out in the corporate world, basically just got fed up with life.
Yeah.
And said, you know what? I'm going to do something different.
Okay.
And he decided to bike from somewhere in California, I think San Francisco, all the way to the tip of South America.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that's a lot of people do that ride. Well, not a lot of people, but I've seen people that do that ride. It looks epic. Yeah,
the stories were so good.
Yeah. I think he was on he might have been on Rich Roll. Like, but yeah, he's. I've seen some of those stories. Like, there's other people that have done it. Like, there's this Dutch guy, I think, that did it from. I think he did that route, but he started in Canada or somewhere, and then gone, kind of all the way, or Alaska, all the way kind of down. Not to like one up your guy, but and then there's some people that have done like, some people do like the Silk Road one.
Okay.
There's one where you go from like Europe all the way to the I think there was a guy, I don't know if he made it all the way, because there's a guy that was running through Africa now, and he keeps getting like stuck up at like borders and stuff.
Yeah, that was the big thing in the book, is like he was fine until he got into Mexico.
Yeah.
And then, there were some really terrifying moments in Mexico where, there's cartels slaying whole villages close by to where he is. And he's like, I'm just a guy on a bike. And while he was on his trip, I guess some guy was trying to do it on a dirt bike.
Okay.
And I guess somebody wanted his dirt bike, and he ended up getting killed.
Yeah.
While he was in Mexico.
Yeah. I mean, there's like that can happen anywhere. Like I was actually, I was flying back from, we went and saw U2 last night, and Saturday night. And,
at the Sphere, which is sick. You sent me the pics.
Dude,
they were so good.
It was so good. Yeah. But we stopped in St. Louis, and when I ran across the country in 2022, like everyone was freaking out like about me running through East St. Louis. So like it happens in Mexico, but like, bad stuff can happen anywhere, if you're out doing these things, but that's part of the challenge. And one of the exciting parts about it too is like, how do you navigate that and still do what you want to do?
And we could have a whole podcast just on, I'm sure, the stories that you have from your different trail runs and the countries you've been to, because you've been to so many.
Yeah.
But I want to go all the way back to like the first time you ran your first marathon. Okay. And did you know at that moment, was it such a high for you to do that you're like, this is what I do?
No, actually, no, not at all. Like, so when I decided to run my first marathon, I wanted to run the Boston Marathon, and I didn't know anything about running at all, other than my friend Vince, his mom had just run it, Vicky Boyson, and she basically, I was like, I want to do that too. And she was kind of like, okay, you like drink with my son. Yeah, sure. Like you guys are frat brothers and you want to run a marathon. But I was like, yeah, I was like pretty serious. I was like, yeah, I really want to do it. So she's like, okay, well, you got to send them. At this point, it was like 1995, I think. And they're like, you got to send the BAA, or the organizers of the Boston Marathon, you have to send them a self-addressed stamped envelope that was like, I want a pamphlet. So then they send you back a pamphlet and you fill it out. And then it was like, what's your qualifying time? And I was like, oh shit, I don't have that.
I was about to ask you, because I know the big ones you have to qualify, right?
Yeah. So I was like, oh crap. So I was like, oh, I'll just run the Marine Corps because it's close. And if it goes bad, my parents can pick me up. Right. And
it's thoughtful.
Yeah. And so when I did the marathon, I knew what time I had to run because I had the pamphlet and said like, hey, if you want to run your 21 or 22, you got to run under 3 hours, 10 minutes. So I was like, okay, fine. That's what I'll do.
Which breaks down to what, a mile for us normal people who don't run marathons all the day?
Yeah. I think it's a little under 7 minutes a mile.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah.
So this 6 foot, 205 pound guy, when I run 3 miles, it comes in, I clock in at a speedy 25 to 26 minutes. So a 7 minute mile sounds like, whoa.
Yeah.
All right, go on. My fault.
Yeah. No, that's fine. Yeah. I think that's right. I mean, I would have to check. I haven't had to look at that pace in a little while.
Yeah.
But so that's what I plan to do. And so I just kind of went through the half at, I think like 1:30. So that would give me like a 3 hour marathon. And I kind of was holding that through like 25 miles. And then I got to 25 miles in like 3 hours. And I was like, holy crap, like I'm definitely going to make it. I only got 1 mile to go. And well, it's like, 1.2 miles. So it's like 2Ks.
That you got to do in like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, oh man, for sure I'm going to make this. And then like I started like going, and then at like 5.5, 6 minutes in, I was like, I'm still not there yet. I was like, and then at the old Marine Corps, you had to like go up the hill. And now what they've done is you kind of stop halfway up. Cause I've done the Marine Corps like 20 times now, but when I was doing it, you had to go up. And it kind of finished at Iwo Jima. I don't know if your audience knows that, but so you're kind of coming off 110, you go up the hill, and then you had to go all the way around, and then you finished on the grass in the old days. And I was like, oh, I'm going to make it. And then I got to the hill, and I was like, oh crap, there's only like 3 minutes left to go up. And then I got to and I just kept being like, I didn't know where the finish was because I'd never done it before. And I was like, oh, it's got to be here. And then, I'm just keep running and running and running. But I think I finished in 3:06. No, 3:08, I think.
Okay.
So I definitely made it.
That's
but
impressive.
then I was like, I was like, fine, now I get to do Boston and then I'll be done. And then, yeah, so I wasn't like, oh, sweet, I'm going to do this the rest of my life. But then I went to Boston and ran that marathon and just saw the atmosphere and the history and just the pure joy on people's faces. And like, I just got addicted, man. And that's when I was like, oh, I want to do this as much as I can. So I would really say it was Boston. Marine Corps got me started, and I love Marine Corps. I mean, it's one of the best races in the world, and it's, you know, it's beautiful that it's right in our backyard. And, you know, I've known the different race directors and elite coordinators and media team for that race forever. And it's super special to me. But yeah, Boston's when I first knew that I was like, oh man, I want to do this as long as I can.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right. So now we've established that Mike has credibility in the world of endurance and sport. So the real question now is, why do you play pickleball? So, and to really get in front of that, I was fortunate enough, I think this is the first time we met. We might have bumped into each other prior to this, but at the DCPPA. We show up early, first thing in the morning. And
that's right. Yeah.
Who's the first guy that I get to play is Mike Wardian in singles.
Oh my God, that's right. Yeah. And dude, I was kicking your ass.
Big time.
Yes.
Big time you
were.
Like
you couldn't get anything in. And I was like, oh, I'm going to win this for sure. And then all of a sudden something switched. Like I maybe got warmer or you just like warmed up, but then you just destroyed me. And
well,
I got smoked.
I wouldn't even say that. I'd say like two things were happening. Do you remember in warm up we exploded
cracked like three balls. Yeah.
Not even playing yet, and then we had to run and get more balls because it was so cold.
Yes.
And keeping it in was tough that day.
Yes.
But I squeaked out the win. I don't even think the third game was a big win, but I squeaked it out because I figured out that.
Yeah.
I figured out if I got it to your backhand. I
feel like that's the trick in singles always pretty much. But yeah. That worked out well. Yeah. I definitely did not play. Well, it was funny because I feel like you called a timeout and like, I don't know why that frustrates me because that's what you're supposed to do. Like everyone knows, like if you're losing, like by a couple points, you just call a timeout and make them like have to reset. And like, I don't know, maybe it doesn't work, but a lot of times, like more times than it should,
timeouts are important. Yeah. Timeouts are, and if you use them at effective times, they're really good.
Yes, exactly. Cause I like to play fast and like, I like being in like having momentum. And I feel like it just like stops all that.
Yeah.
And like a couple of times we were playing, I played, in another tournament. And I would just tell the people, like, I'm just calling a timeout because you're whooping our ass. And then everyone laughs. But, like, I mean, I think it was super, super well done because, like, I just couldn't recover. And it was like, yeah, I feel like, pickleball, like, there's Bruce that we play with, and he always says, like, pickleball is a game of momentum, but I totally believe that. Like,
oh, yeah. Yeah, big swings, especially when you're winning on your own point. But I guess the question I had for you was, you're already, like, running all over the world. You're doing your thing. Like, what attracted you to pickleball? Was this, like, a friend or family? Was it something you just wanted to do different?
Yeah, well, I got lucky. My friend Rick Poppleton, who was like one of my first training partners for running, he invited me to go play pickleball with him in Rehoboth Beach in Delaware. And literally I ran out to Walmart and bought some paddles. And our boys, Pierce and Grant, and I went and played with Rick at a place called King Creek Country Club. So it's a really nice country club that he belongs to, and now I know a bunch of the guys, like my friend Andy and Pete are at Kings Creek, and I actually thought about, wow, maybe I should join like this country club just for pickleball. Like,
wow, so,
yeah, like it's awesome, but I haven't joined yet.
And so you start playing, you enjoy the game.
Well, we start playing, and Rick doesn't really know how to play either. But I'm like, this game is like everything I like. I mean, it's like fast. It's like simple to learn, but like you can tell that that if you practice, that like there's skill involved, and then I don't know, there's something really nice about just hammering the ball, like so yeah. And coming from like a lacrosse background, I like the eye-hand coordination.
So that's where that comes from. That's helpful.
Yeah, with the movement. And so quickly, like I went from like playing with the Walmart paddle to then we bought like those Amazon paddles that everyone has at first,
the Nui Peepo ones or whatever.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. So we ordered those like the next day, and we're like, well, look at us with our fancy paddles. And then I started playing down at Rehoboth Elementary like every morning. And it was awesome. My friend Andy Staten, basically, he knew me from running, and he's big into pickleball, and he's like head of First State Pickleball. Like he's the president in Delaware. And after like a week or so, he's like, dude, you're already better than most of the people like that are playing it's kind of like Rehoboth Elementary has got 4 dedicated pickleball courts, and like that's where a lot of people play at the beach.
Nice.
Yeah. And so he's like, hey, if you want to play with some better people, I can, it's funny how it works. It's in like a lot of things, but pickleball in general, like you have to get vetted by someone before like people
always. You're never getting to the next group without somebody saying he belongs.
Yeah. Or like, let's give this guy a chance and see if he's not going to, be a jerk. And so like he basically brought me along under his wing and let me play with some of the better guys, and they beat me up pretty good, but like they could see like I had some potential, and so he actually gave me my first he gave me some like demo Selkirks, so I went from like the Amazon paddle to the Selkirks, and I played with those forever. Mm-hmm. And then eventually I'm lucky I got hooked up with a guy named Eric White at Yola, and he got me some, even better paddles. And like, I used to be like, the paddles don't matter at all, but like, it makes a big difference to have a nice paddle.
Once you got that Yola, cause you're playing with the Perseus now, right?
Yeah.
The newest one.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's like a lot more pop, a lot more grit. Yeah. Yes. It'll change your game.
Yeah. 100%. And just like control. For me, it's the best paddle I've ever used. Mm-hmm. But I played with a bunch of different ones.
So one of the things that I thought would be helpful to our listeners, because it's a pickleball podcast, and is you have the endurance that no one else does. And I know for myself personally, I tend to start out really strong, and as the day gets on in a tournament, I seem to wane because I start losing my legs, and I'm not moving as effectively. And so one of the things I wanted to ask you about is twofold. One, talk to me a little bit about your diet and kind of what you eat. And then number 2, like I know for you, tournament days are probably cupcake, but like on a tournament day, are there little gels or things or that marathoners would use that you think might be effective for long days at a tournament? Yeah,
100%. I think it's funny. I guess to answer the first question, I'm a vegan. The one animal product I eat is honey. So some people consider that not vegan. That's fine.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So vegetarian.
Yeah.
I think it's easier just to say plant-based and then,
mm-hmm.
But yeah, so typically breakfast is, I work with a company called Stoked Oats. They make a really good oatmeal. I usually have that with fresh berries if I'm home or I have access, and banana. And then I work with another company called Big Spoon Roasters. They make like artisanal nut butters, and I usually have that with some toast and sometimes honey. A lot of times honey. This morning, actually, a friend of mine introduced me to just putting fresh fruit on my nut butters, and I was like, this is game changer.
Yeah.
So thank you, Zoe, for that. So this morning I just had berries on my nut butter.
So how many calories a day are you trying to consume? Like being vegan, I had to assume you're really kind of watching your intake of protein so that you're building the muscle. And
well, I thought I was. I work with another company called Inside Tracker. I feel like I'm plugging everybody here.
No, you're good. That's what I wanted, because I want my listeners to be able to go out and kind of figure out if.
Yeah.
Here's what I'm also being a little selfish. I eat like shit.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
And I'm at the point in my life where I want to change some things, so I'm open to hearing what you have to say.
Yeah, okay. Well, so Inside Tracker is pretty great because they do all these biomarkers, and so I was actually low in B12 and ferritin, which ferritin helps you with it's iron basically. So it was funny when I was in New Zealand. My mom has already been on me about like getting my levels, everything in order, and then Inside Tracker obviously is helpful in being able to see what it is. And then my friends, Orla and Hugi in New Zealand were like, hey man, you should really, do something about those numbers since you have the information. I was like, oh yeah, you're right. I was thinking about it. So I started taking, I used to be taking like a multivitamin. So I just started taking that again. And then I added an iron supplement and a B12 supplement. So,
okay.
So being kind of mindful of that, just knowing that it's hard to get iron and B12 as a plant-based athlete.
Yeah.
And I'd say like, I do kind of watch what I eat and monitor my calories. I'm more like cognizant of like weight. So I usually weigh myself in the morning, just knowing where
you want to be and where you are.
Yeah, exactly. And then I've been doing a lot of strength training too. So like I'm a little bit heavier than I was when I was just only running.
Yeah, because packing on muscle, it's heavier
Yeah,
than
exactly.
fat.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so like that's fine. I'm fine with that. If I'm running a lot or cycling a lot, then that usually just gets eaten by the endurance gods. So like, okay.
But as much as you're like you came from a run this morning was the first thing you did. You told me, and so
the first thing I did was take our dogs to the park with my wife.
Okay.
But then I did do a 10-mile run.
10-mile run, which is probably like your normal run.
That was actually a little bit longer. Since my injury, that's the longest run I've had in like 3 weeks.
Feel pretty good?
It felt awesome. Yeah.
Good.
But that being said, like I just got a call from my doctor about my MRI results. So I'm
Okay.
curious as to like if she's going to be like, oh, that was a good idea or a bad idea.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
But I mean, you got to be consuming like 4,000 or 5,000 calories a day.
Some days. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and some days less, but like it just depends what I'm doing and how active I am, and like I still work full time as an international shipbroker, so like I'm trying to balance that with kids and family and dogs and pickleball and running and cycling and all the things. But yeah.
Yes, that is sick.
Yeah.
So back to tournament days.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So back to tournament days. I'd say the thing I've noticed most about watching people at the pickleball tournaments is most people don't really know how to fuel for more than a couple hours. And so like I see people not drinking enough, taking in stuff that they think is going to work, like or that they've seen other pickleball people use, but they haven't really even tried themselves. So like I remember when I first started, I'd see so many people like drinking like Jigsaw and stuff where like
they've sold a lot of that product.
They have sold a lot of it. It's great. And maybe it works for those people. Like I'd say I work with a company called Goo, and they make energy gels. They make powders. They make Stroop waffles that you can eat. They make electrolyte tabs that you can just add to your water.
GOO Goo?
No, sorry, it's GU.
GU.
Yep.
Okay, gotcha.
And so I've brought some of those to Walter Reed and just let people use them, and I think people have had pretty good results with them. But like, just from my own experience, like most people want to get a couple hundred calories an hour of something. I mean, you're not having to worry about GI distress as much as if you're trying to run, you know, because we're playing for like 15 minutes maybe, and
That's
then
right.
you might have
sit
like
an hour and then you play
exactly,
again.
yeah, exactly. So like you're not continually having to refuel, but I do see people just not minding like what they're eating and staying on top of it, and then also eating like in a way that like you're not eating right before the event, so that your stomach's having to try to like go to digest.
Okay.
Whereas like if you eat like 30 minutes before or something, then you have time to digest, and then maybe if you have to go to the bathroom or whatever. Right. So like
I feel vindicated now, because I've always said I've made a mistake early on that I ate a bunch of food before I showed up to a tournament.
Yeah.
And I felt awful the whole tournament, played awful.
Yes.
So I have like a 2 hour,
Yes.
I have to eat 2 hours prior.
Yep.
And then I don't mind being a little hungry while I'm out there, but I do, and why I asked the question is I do want something that gives me that energy that helps me keep going.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where like engineered food comes in really handy. So you can take a gel, 15, 20 minutes right before, and it'll kick in, and they have, caffeinated gels or goos, uncaffeinated goos.
Oh, stop right there then, because I think I know the answer to this. But what's your take on like a Red Bull or a Monster or an energy drink to kind of get you that hype before you go into a match?
Yeah, I mean, some people do that. I don't do that. I mean, I have worked with Red Bull, and so like I know that those things work.
So but you wouldn't say that's an immediate negative. It's not going to draw away from your ability to perform an hour or two down after the crash of the caffeine.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the trouble with that stuff. Like every time I go to, like, I don't usually use caffeine, but if I do in a race, then once I do, like once I break the seal, like it's almost like
keep it going.
you got to monitor that. So that's just another thing you have to be mindful of, because, or you just expect that there's going to be a crash and like time it so that it's like during one of your breaks, right?
Okay.
But yeah, what I see most people is like they don't really know how to fuel, or they haven't had to fuel for a long time, and so they just either under fuel or over fuel, and like they don't really know what works for them. So like I'd say this to the people that I coach for endurance and running events and kind of longer stuff, is like trying to find stuff that you can eat no matter what. And most of the time it doesn't really matter what it is, like as far as like good calories, bad calories, that kind of stuff. And sometimes it's even like, you know, the easier consumable high density calorie stuff works pretty well.
Okay. So I'll tell you what's my typical tournament thing is I pack these, I've found these like packets of trail mix.
Yeah.
So like raisins and nuts, and it's got some candies in there for the sugar.
Yeah.
So I crush those on tournament day.
Yeah,
Usually
that makes sense. Yeah.
I have been a Red Bull guy where I keep a couple of them in there, but you're right. I kind of got to keep it going all day long.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like it depends. Yeah. And you don't really know what your draw is going to be like. Sometimes you can play like one game and then it's right immediately in like another game. Or sometimes it's like you play one game and you won, and then you got to wait for people from the losers bracket, or you're in the losers bracket and you got to just keep playing.
That's right. That's right. Which sometimes I prefer.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
Going in the back draw and playing back to first, if that's a possibility, can be easier because you're not sitting as much.
Yes, exactly. And like the other person, like it takes, I mean, it just takes a couple minutes to like get used to it, and then all of a sudden you're down 3 points or something.
That's right. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. And it's like, that's what I love about it too. And like, I was actually thinking the other day, like, I'm so used to playing like 11 points. When it goes to like 15 points, I'm like, I already won. And it's like, no, you didn't. You didn't win.
Gotta keep going.
Yeah. So like having that endurance to play like 15 points, you know, like, and even I was thinking like it'd be cool just to play like 30 points so that you're like, continually, rather than like, because every time I start a new game, I'm like, oh, that game's over. Like if I lost, like, okay, fine. If I won, I'm like, all right, fine. But like, to be in a game where it's like everything is important, it's almost like rally scoring, right? Like that's why I think rally scoring is kind of cool, because like every point has meaning. Like you can't like take an off point.
I love rally scoring.
Yeah.
I've already come out on the pod and said that my bold prediction is by 2025, all amateur tournaments will be rally scoring.
I mean, that'd be better for the tournament.
Yeah, the tournament director loves it. I think the people
everyone's
like it.
Done faster.
Yeah, exactly. And when you can predict the time.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing worse than... So I played a tournament this past weekend up in Baltimore.
Oh, wait, was it the Ocean Pines one?
No, Dill Dinkers.
Oh, okay.
The Dill Dinkers one. And
oh, wait, did Joe do that? Joe played that.
I played Joe Z.
Oh,
yes.
shut up.
He was in my bracket.
Did he win? Or?
No, I did.
Oh, well, no.
Yeah, what up, Joe Z?
Sorry, bud.
I know he listens. He's such a good dude.
Oh, yeah, he is. Yeah, no, I like playing with him a lot.
Yeah, so he was up there, and we played that. And, you know, what we were supposed to start at 7:30.
A.M.?
PM.
PM?
PM.
Oh, shit.
Super late.
Wow.
And we actually didn't start until after 8.
Ooh.
And I played my gold medal match. We finished it at 12:05 a.m. And I was like, this is just brutal. And then I had to drive home from Baltimore. I didn't get to bed till 2:30, and this old guy does not like that.
Oh, my God, that's funny. Yeah, that's like when we used to play box lacrosse. It was funny because it reminded me as I was driving out here, we used to play out in Manassas, and like some of our games would, like you're in high school, or games would start at like midnight. Like
it's like, come on. Well, no, one of my daughter's figure skates, and the hockey guys come in after she's done, so they start practice at like 10:30. I'm like, that just doesn't sound fun to me. It's just too much.
Yeah.
So your pickleball experience, you've been playing for like 3 years.
Yeah, pretty going on 4 years now, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. And I know you've got a crew down in Arlington that you play with a lot.
Yep.
So what is it about pickleball that...
The Arlington Iron Paddles.
Yeah,
crew. I'm plugging everybody.
Oh, they get it on here all the time anyway.
Nice. Okay, well, good. Because, I mean, I feel like they're one of the best, like, support systems and groups in the area for sure. So.
Oh, I would agree.
Yeah.
I would definitely agree. Like top 2, top 3.
Yeah.
And all the guys, and you can find within their system games for yourself, whether you're a 3-0 or a 5-0.
Oh,
you can
100%.
find guys,
yeah.
which is really, really cool.
Yeah. What's cool to see is like just how everyone's gotten so much better. Like it's just awesome. Like, yeah, you go away for a little bit and come back and you're like, God, they're so good.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that was my question to you is like, what are your goals kind of within pickleball for the rest of the year? Now, I'm sure on the list of things in your life, you got family, you got your career, you got your running, it's down there. But I mean, do you have things that you're working on or working towards?
Oh yeah, actually, yeah. It's on my list of things for this year is I want to try to win a 4-0 singles tournament and a 4-5 doubles tournament for men. Like I won, I don't know if you ever played with Kat. Like, she and I won DC 4-5 up. So that was pretty cool.
Was that Maya and Steve's the DC Pickleball League kind of stuff down there? Was that?
It wasn't DC Pickleball League. It was like DC Parks or something last August or September.
Well, congrats. That's a good W.
Oh, it was so good. Yeah, it was crazy. We went 8-0. She was so on fire.
Yes.
And it's funny because like the people didn't realize that she was probably the better player, so they would hit at her.
Nice. Yes.
And then I could just like kind of poach a bunch of points. So yeah, anyhow, like it took people a while to be like, oh, we should actually hit at the dude.
Mm-hmm. And if it took them a while, then good for you.
Yeah. But that was really fun. So yeah, my goal would be to try to like I haven't played a lot of singles. Like I know you play more singles, but try to play some more singles and get a double men's win at 4-5. And then just keep getting better, man. I mean, that's the biggest thing is like consistently like getting in drilling and just keep getting better. Like I'm inspired by like a lot of the guys in Arlington Iron Paddles and. The goal is to try to, keep getting better. I'd like to, move up, try to get up to 5.0 and then see if I can. I turned 50 in April. So like,
dude, senior pro.
Yeah, dude, senior pro. That would be like ultimate goal. Like I know that Pickles Paul is like somebody that, I've respected like his work ethic and like what he's been able to do and Jimmy and
those boys are putting in work and especially in the singles world.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So like they're just grinding and like it'd be fun to, kind of get on their level and be able to give them, another person to train with and get better with. Right now I'm not much help unless they want to work on some shots that they're just playing around with. But I think I can continue to get better. I mean, there's so many things that I do well, but there's way more things that I do poorly, and just getting more consistent. I think that's the biggest thing with like anything.
Your schedule, and as busy as you are, and as much travel as you do, you getting to play like once or twice a week, 2 or 3 times a week. I'm sure different months.
I got to play. I didn't get to play for like 3 weeks, so I went and played. Like I was actually kind of scared the last time I went. I was like, oh, they're going to be so much better. I'm going to suck, and like. I think it was beginner's luck. I actually played really well.
That's awesome.
So that was fun. And like, no one cares, they're pretty cool. So that was good. But like, I think definitely if you want to get better, you got to, put the time in. It's just like anything. Like you can't just show up and say you're going to be better. You actually have to do the work. And so like, I'm willing to do that and I'll find the time. Like it's kind of busy right now for me. I've got another trip to Japan for a couple of marathons this weekend, Iwaki Sunshine Marathon. Shout out to the Kauai Marathon for sending me as the representative. So thank
awesome.
you.
Yes.
And then I'm going to pace a double amputee, Richard Whitehead at the Tokyo Marathon. So
wow.
Yeah, so that'll be cool to like give back and help someone kind of, he wants to try to, run a really fast time for him and try to set the world record. So
now is he doing that on like the little like spring
he has blades,
yeah, the blades, those things.
But it's actually interesting. He runs more like egg beater style, whereas other double amputees like a guy Brian Reynolds and I have run together a bunch.
Is that because he was above the knee for the amputee, the style wise?
No, I think it's just he just prefers that style, and he's so fast. He's like an Olympian for Great Britain in 400 and 800, So yeah, he's an incredible like athlete, and I think that for him that just works better. But for me, it was like as pacer, like I was a little too close at New York when I paced him for the New York City Marathon. So like, I just got to remember to give him a little bit more space. So like, but yeah, but it makes it tricky. Like I just got to make sure no one gets too close, and it'll be fun to kind of do that in Japan. Like try to make sure like no Japanese athletes get too close.
Yeah.
And then
so you're like bouncer / pacer.
100%. Yeah. Bouncer / pacer / like mule / like taskmaster, like coxswain.
That's right.
So yeah, so I've got a couple different roles, but I think if I'm healthy, I should be able to, accomplish that for him.
Money, man. Well, fingers crossed. I hope your MRI comes back awesome today.
Yeah, me too.
So as we're wrapping up, my one last question, since we have such a high level athlete, is what 2 or 3 different exercises do you think people should do to be most effective for pickleball? Like lunges, I don't know, burpees, et cetera.
I do a lot of burpees.
I need to do. Oh, I just saw on your Facebook, didn't you just do like a ridiculous amount of burpees in like a day or
500.
Or what was that?
Yeah, I did 500 burpees. Yeah. It was just to see if I could do 500 burpees.
But what was the time frame that you did it in?
Oh, I can't remember how long that took. I think it was a little over an hour. I can't remember. Yeah, it was less than 2 hours for sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
so there's my challenge for our listeners. So if you can do 500 burpees in a little over an hour, or I'll even give you 2 hours, reach out to me, let me know. Pickle Pulse shirt coming your way.
Oh yeah.
But you got to have proof.
Yeah. Yeah, that was really fun. And then I was thinking like, I should try for 1,000, but I remember that 500, I was like surprised that I was able to do it.
Yeah, that's a lot.
I think I saw my friend Zoe do it first. She's so strong.
Dude.
Yeah. So I think that's where I saw it. But I'd say, obviously like having good legs. So like if people start walking or running, like I think that would be really helpful for your pickleball, just to, like you were saying, to have the stamina. And then I'm not super flexible, but I think like being able to squat, like, and you see this with like some of the higher end guys, like they really get low.
Yeah.
And then you tend to use less wrist and stuff and use more of your body to dink the ball back and forth. Like I think that's super helpful. And then just having good lateral like movement. So like you can do that with like kind of grapevines or karaoke. I don't know.
Oh yes, I know what you're talking about. Yep.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
So I'd say those are pretty helpful. But yeah, just having overall good fitness, and then eye-hand coordination I think is a big deal too. So like if you can just get on a wall and just practice, like
it's boring, but I do that from time to time when I just can't find anybody, and it is very effective for your
oh my
hands.
God, it's so good. Yeah.
And I'm dripping sweat at the end of it too, which is it was kind of the first time I ever did a boxing workout. And I was like, man, this is going to be fun. Is this going to be a real workout? And I was dead at the end. I was like, hitting that bag over and over again just wears you out.
Nice, man. I'm glad. I'm glad. And I think really it's just about finding something that works, like where you can be consistent and you like doing it. That's kind of the biggest thing. And then, like, I think if you can find someone to drill with, that's where you really see the
big time,
most like effective success at getting better. Like that's something I need to be better about, is just, having someone to be able to work on stuff with.
Text me, brother. Text me.
Dude, it's so far to come out here.
I know. I'll come to you. I get it. I live out in the sticks. Well, hey, I just want you to know that I'm really appreciative of you coming on.
Oh man, I'm so glad to be on, man. It's so pro out here. I really like it.
Yeah. And you know what? I have been a fan from afar for a while.
Oh, thanks.
And it's really cool to see what you're doing.
Thanks.
For all the people that want to follow you out there, where are some of the places that we can find stuff that you're doing? And do you have a website or anything?
I do have a website, but most people just find me on social media. So I'm on, I'd say the thing I post on, I post on everything, but I'd say like most people find me on Instagram. I'm just at Mike Wardian. That's MikeWard like dog, IAN like Nancy. And then I'm on Facebook too for people that
for all the old people.
Well, it's weird. You think that, but then like you go other places in the world and that's what they use. Like, so in like New Zealand, like most people use like Facebook, and the same with like, I was just had a meeting with the embassy of Taiwan, and they were like, oh yeah, we use Facebook. And they were like, we definitely do not use TikTok.
No, definitely not.
So I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. So I was surprised, but yeah, I mean, I'm kind of on all the, it's X, but I'm on Twitter. It's same at Mike Wardian, and then Facebook's Michael Wardian, and then I do have a website, but it's just kind of like more like a landing page type thing.
Okay, rock and roll.
Yeah, man.
Well, yeah, go out and follow him. You'll be very inspired as I have been, and Mike, appreciate it, dude.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me on.
Yep. Peace.
All right, later. Bye.